if my dad owed somebody some money, he said, "Bring your car in and I'll let Lee work on it." So I got to work on Model T Fords, stuff like that. And my dad said, "See, in those days they didn't have inserts for the bearings they were they were all poured connecting rods, so they they didn't know that when a crankshaft got out of round, there's no sense tightening up the bearings because they were going to loosen them up again. So anyway, they do what you call take up the bearings." So my dad says, "Take up the bearings in that Model T there," and he thought he was going to pull a fast one on me. So I did it, and on Model T there's only 3 dips in some of the older models instead of 4 dips for the 4-cylinder. So I took up the bearing when I got all through. My dad said, "Did you get that back one?" I said, "Yep, sure did." He thought I was going to just let it go because it was harder to do, see, but I didn't. So yeah, I grind valves, take up bearings, and all kinds of stuff like it. Well, later on, I got to doing brake jobs, doing brakes on cars and things like that. So that's where I got my start.
But I was brought up very sheltered, and with the idea that we as Mexicans don't do this, and excuse me, and this does not help. And we as Mexicans, our religious beliefs are this, and we're not supposed to do that. So culturally, it has always kept people like me in a little box to a certain degree. When I was a child, I would look that way and see the mountains, and they would look so clear. Of course, there was no smog at that time, and I always wanted, it seemed as if I could walk over there. I always wanted to see what was on the other side, so consequently, I've always been very nosy, and I'm a big reader. And my husband and I did some traveling, and he was just as nosy. And we'd just stand there and look and see and absorb. But that's another thing too also, that our own culture, I believe, has kept us back. And some people assume and presume that all Mexicans or all Latinos are the same.
Yeah, I never I love to fight. I'd rather fight than eat, but I never started a fight. No. I never have. And they used, like old Johnson, rode my back one night. Johnson boy, what you call it, grabbed me. He says, "I'm out there jitterbugging," and his wife says, "Oh, well, I went better not." Yeah, anyhow, I was out there jitterbugging on the floor, and she says, "I just wonder if he's good jitterbugging, And he jumped out of that, what you call it, and jumped on my back, and started. So we went outside, and his big brother Eunice was standing out there. He said, "Wait, he did it again." I'd knock him down. I said, "Yeah." I said, "You're supposed to be the tough Johnson boys, yeah? Well, you got to meet the Carmouche boy now." But I'd been there and everywhere, and I've been there everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the desert sands, man. I'm freezing mountain air, man. I've been everywhere. That's Johnny Cage.
From the queen of the Floyd Mountains, south by that moor, in a mighty rush of the Indian head, lonesome hobos crawl. We're traveling through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball. Eastern states are dandy, so all the people say. From New York, St. Louis, and Chicago, by the way. From the hills of Minnesota, where the rippling waters flow. No changes can be taken on the Wabash Cannonball. So listen to the jingle, the rumble, and the roar. As it slides along the woodland, the hills and by that shore. In the mighty rush of the Indian head, lonesome hobos call. We're traveling through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball. We're traveling through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball.